Hey, it's Tuesday. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. I'm Rick Yinger. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me for Tech Tuesday. My special guest today is Rick Yinger from Highlands Cable Networks. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well, sir. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Highlands is a customer of ours, and Rick and I were chatting the other day, and we were just talking about some things and decided he would be a great guest for my podcast here. We're talking about some things that Rick is doing as far as fiber. You guys started, obviously you're a cable company, but you've expanded into fiber, so we're going to talk about that today. But why don't we start out first by, also if you want to chat with us, if you got any questions or anything like that, just feel free to let us know you're watching, and I'll bring you in here on chat. We'll say hello and answer any questions you have if you want to chat with us at that time. So tell us a little bit about Highlands Cable, how you guys, maybe how you got started, and the service that you're offering there.
Okay. Yeah, we've been deploying cable service in the Highlands area in North Carolina since 2001. Is when we actually fired off our first cable modem, and we were the very first service to actually have a high-speed internet.
Wow.
There was no DSL. The current cable system that was here was not offering anything, and we had the community basically come together and said, "Hey, everybody that's here is not really doing anything, and we want the new broadband service." And so that's how Highlands Cable Group was formed. And we pretty much have been leading that industry since day one. Everyone kind of played catch up with us, and we've been competing with the other providers, but we are like a highly seasonal area, and so we have a lot of people that come in during the summer, leave during the winter, and a lot of these people are CEOs of big companies, and they like to do remote access, and that's what's led us into deploying the fiber service that we started doing.
So you guys now are kind of overbuilding, right?
We are an overbuild service, yes.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you were doing cable, and so what made you make the decision to start deploying fiber? So you being an overbuilder, you've kind of can go wherever you want, I guess. What made you make the decision on some of maybe the new areas that you wanted to serve to do fiber?
Well, we are very, very pleased with our DOCSIS network, and we were deploying that and staying ahead of the time, as we like to think. And we started looking at numbers and looking at cost, and the cost of fiber has just come way down since even the last couple of years. So the cost to actually deploy it out on the poles and get it to the outside of the home has just dropped dramatically. And comparing the cost of coax to the cost of fiber, it was only about 10-15% more capital investment to just go ahead and go pure fiber than it was to go coax. And so we were looking at that, and then we started seeing the advantages that fiber has over the DOCSIS network. And one of the big things that we have issues with, being an older community up here, we have a lot of people that just screw in their own cable. They'll bring like an old TV up and screw it into the cable network. And one of the big issues with that is noise.
Right.
So we are constantly doing noise mitigation, and thanks to Z-Corm, with all the wonderful tools we have, we can be proactive with that. But it is still a lot of man hours to do, and going the fiber route, there's no noise to chase down. There's no issues with the customer interfering with your network. It's just beautiful in that sense. So that was one of the things we were looking at, is we didn't have to have all the man hours after it was deployed to maintain it. There's no electronics between our head end and the customer's home. It's pure glass. So there's nothing really to maintain other than a physical break. So that was pretty much the big advantage that we saw with that, and that outweighed the additional cost to us.
That makes sense. So I guess you guys, it's hybrid fiber coax. So did you get some of the experience working with fiber and the fact that you had already maybe had fiber in your cable plant? And I don't know if you were extending that out at some point.
We were. We pretty much do everything in-house. We're small enough that all of our techs, including myself, will go out, we'll work on the lines, we'll splice the fiber, pretty much everything from the hit-in to the home we do in-house. And we had a lot of experience with the fiber at that point, and we had originally built our system, HFC system, as a node plus 5. So we had our node and then 5 actives off the node. And as we started continuing to deploy our DOCSIS network, we decided to go to node plus 3. And so we did a node 3, then we evolved into a node plus 1. And then once we started doing node 1, we started looking at the fiber at that point, because the fiber's so close to the home already that just to transition into the new areas and do fiber all the way was not really that much more infrastructure to have to build on the fiber deployment.
Yeah, and that's I was thinking that's what a lot of cable operators are doing, is that they're going further out, going more fiber deep, and eventually they're probably like, why, I might as well go to the curb if they can. Obviously, it's going to be a lot easier in a new area if you're bringing in customers. So what was there from that node plus 1 to the just saying I'm going to go fiber right to the home? What was the difference there as far as what did you need to add, or what, any equipment?
Well, it did take a lot more in the design aspect of things, because a cable network, of course, the circuitry of that is pretty straightforward. It's you have your node and then you just deploy out in a sense of one line, and you can tap off that line with feeder lines. Whereas fiber's kind of almost back to the old school telephone days, where you have to have a dedicated circuit back to a hub point. So we're deploying GPON right now, and what we do is, just like a cable node, we bring a trunk fiber in to a GPON area, and we have a cabinet there that will split out that trunk fiber to 32 homes. So we can bring our feeder fiber into a node, and then those fibers can converge. So 32 will go back into one trunk fiber back to the hit end. And so there's a lot more in the design aspect of it that we had to really kind of play and learn with as we went. But it's definitely exciting. It's really cool to see that extra step, taking that node and basically bringing it all the way to the home on pure fiber. So.
And you guys, is it the Calyx equipment that you're using?
We are using Calyx E7 gear.
And is that so that means that the end user has a Calyx? What have you got on the end user side, the CPE?
Well, I actually got one of our devices here. This is a Calyx 854G. This is an all-in-one unit. Kind of looks like a cable modem, but the difference is if you can see it, it has a little fiber input.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so what this does is we bring the fiber to the home, demarc it on the side of the house, and then we'll actually run another fiber into the home where the device is going to live. We'll bring our fiber directly into this box, and then this is everything for the home. So this has built-in wireless AC. It has your 4-port Ethernet on the back of it. It has your 2 telephone for pots, and then right here is an RF port. And so our video, our traditional cable television, is overlaid on top of this, and it spits out RF right out of this box. And this can just plug into the existing house coax.
Oh, that's nice.
Setup. And the beauty of that is you don't even have to worry about the house wiring. As long as it's good enough to pass video, there's no noise mitigation that you have to work with. You don't really have to worry too much about like reflections or anything like that inside the home, because that's only a one-way RF plant. You're not worried about the return on it at all. So.
And you said that's got Wi-Fi in there too for the customer?
It's a wireless AC 4x4. And one of the cool things we've actually been working with on these devices is they have a new mesh unit that comes with this. So just like this box, it has a little satellite box probably about this big, and just takes a power plug, and you can set that around the house, and it will connect back to this on a separate 5 gigahertz frequency. And so it allows you to deploy the main unit in wireless, deploy the little satellites, and you can pretty much get a full gigabit over Wi-Fi out of this box.
Nice. Yeah.
It's very nice. Yeah.
Well, I think I might have mentioned on the phone the other day, we've got some interesting things coming up in TrueVision with our fiber product on the
No,
GPON side. So one of which is the ability to look into the Wi-Fi network and to go into the device. So I'm going to get with you on that so you guys can start looking at that. In fact,
awesome.
I think the release we're doing tomorrow will have that where you can, and it'd be great for you to test that. So
Okay.
I'll get with you on that.
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
Yeah. So any advice for any other cable operators maybe that are thinking about doing this? What did you run into any pitfalls? What have you learned from this process?
Well, it's definitely delicate. It's a delicate process.
Yeah.
The main thing is make sure your engineering plans are done and everything is set in the back end before you just kind of go deploy it. It's definitely not like a traditional cable plant in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But really, once everybody starts to get comfortable with it, the installs just kind of flow. There's not really any big hiccups because instead of spending all that extra time in a house rewiring it with the coax, because that is one issue we have too, being an area that we have a lot of old homes, a lot of cabin homes, and they were either built with no coax, or when they were built, it was pretty much RG59 through the whole thing. And so we have a lot of time where we would have to rewire the homes, where with this, you really don't have to worry about that as long as they do have coax in the locations they want it for the television side. And then just bringing the fiber into the home is pretty much the same way as you'd bring a coax into the home. It's not a whole lot different. But yeah, there wasn't really a big challenge for us, I would say. I think maybe because we were very comfortable with fiber. I would say for operators that maybe haven't done a whole lot of fiber themselves, it would probably be good to get good hands-on experience with it if they're going to be doing their own deployment with it. Because when you get to the house, you do want to have that knowledge of how the fiber is spliced, how it works. You don't want to just kind of go in blind because you'll end up breaking it. It's very, very easy to break. So, and that's another thing also, kind of teaching the customer, because they hear that buzzword fiber to the home, and they love hearing that, oh, we're bringing fiber into your house, but they got to know as well that when we do bring that fiber into the house, it's not something you can just step on or move freely. It is a delicate wire.
It's glass.
It is. Yeah. We have been one of the things we've been using, which is kind of new, is they have some really tough fiber. It's the fiber optic cable, but the outside sheath is wrapped in a very thin coat, about pretty much I think like a millimeter of steel, and so it gives it a really good protection against the home. So the user at the house. So.
Yeah, I got to be a little more careful. So I guess the reason you can use, if I understood correctly, the reason you can use some of that older coax that was in there is because you're just doing video over it. Is that right? And you're not having to do the broadband over it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. So the beauty of this unit right here is it's just like a cable node.
Yeah.
The RF is leaving our head end, and we get modulated into a light form. So that waveform is the same old analog optics that we would use going to a cable node. So it's a 1550 nanometer wavelength that goes straight into this box, outputs on the RF 20 dB. So it's just like a tap. So it's outputting 20 dB of RF, a nice flat signal right into the home. So
Okay. And Pete Olivia is asking a question here, and you may have actually just answered that, although I'm going to ask it anyway because some of this is over my head. But well, first off, he asked, are you doing any active Ethernet? Is there anything you're doing yet?
We have done active Ethernet, not through the Calix platform, but we have done active E deployments. So we have a couple of areas that one of them's big into streaming video. There's a church that actually does streaming video, so we have done active E to that, as well as some of the country clubs as well. So, but as for like residential active E, we really haven't done any deployment on that yet. But
somebody just texted me and told me our names are switched on the screen. So on this screen, I've got your. You know what? Let me fix that right now. I think I can do that. Let's see. I'll move you down here. Move me up. Oh no, that's messing everything up. Hold on. There we go. Get that right.
At least the first name.
That's right. It's so funny because there's not too many people that have the same first name and last initial as I do. So yeah, so we get a little bit In fact, I've gotten mail from you or for you at my
Okay. Yep.
office, but only because I think we had you in the database. Somebody put you in the database with my address when we were sending something, so I wound up getting a postcard that we sent to you to myself,
No.
which
Yeah.
is pretty funny. Um,
Yeah.
so, and Pete says, yeah, I guess that answered his question as far as how you guys are doing video, because he was asking about the video part as well. So,
Yep.
yeah. So moving forward, obviously, I guess one of the complications would be if you were gonna do this, let's say in areas where you're already providing service. So let's say you've got a cable customer somewhere, they've got coax. It would probably be a lot more difficult, I guess, to switch them over to fiber. Is that right?
It would be a more difficult process, and the beauty of us doing an overbuild and expanding into new areas, we don't have existing plant there. So the capex to actually go into that area, we have zero investment in it right now. So to invest in either A, coax or B, fiber was an easy decision. Whereas rebuilding our entire plant for the purpose of fiber is a little more difficult because the benefits of that would be to rebuild it for our purpose of not having to really maintain the coax plant, but it wouldn't be a purpose of for gaining a ton of new customers per se. The investment would have a much slower return to redo our coax with fiber than it would be to deploy it for the new areas. One of the beauties of what we have done, and I know a lot of other providers do this as well, when they have started expanding fiber in their current existing areas, they've built more than what is needed. So there's spare fibers. And so all of our optic nodes do have spare fibers in that realm. And we can just pretty much pop out a GPON split at the node and then run fiber to the home from there and overlay our current existing cable plant. So we can kind of have a dual illumination. You have your coax running and then have a fiber layer on top of that that's running. And then you could slowly switch people over without any kind of service impacting issue at that point.
Yeah.
But
let's see, Pete's got another question. It's so Pete's asking questions. He's over the development group that does TrueVision. So he's asking this question: what new metrics did you have to monitor for the new fiber platform, the new FTTX platform?
Okay, so cable modems, you monitor the downstream, upstream signal, and the same thing with the calyx gear. We can monitor, thanks to ZCorm and the platform there, we can monitor the downstream and upstream light levels. So it'll read what light levels are actually coming in to the unit at the home, and then it reads what we're getting back from the unit as well. The fiber's a little different. It doesn't give you like a modulation error ratio or an SNR number. It gives you a bit error rate, and so tells you there's 0 errors or there's 10 errors or anything like that. And so we don't really have to have a whole lot on the metrics to monitor when it comes to like the signal because again, it's light. It is a complete digital signal, so it's either there and working or it's not. There's no like halfway point with it.
Yeah, and less RF issues.
Yeah, a lot less RF issues.
Yeah.
Of course, the beauty with the ZCorm platform there is we can monitor and make sure that the RF is working, how much data is being flowed through the device. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing the Wi-Fi tab because we use that a lot with our cable system. So that's one of the great features going in and being able to monitor the Wi-Fi and the performance in the home and be able to assist with changing customers' IDs, the SSIDs, the passwords, all that kind of stuff. So
cool.
Definitely look forward to that in this.
Yeah, and I guess there's have you looked? I mean, obviously, like you said, we can kind of, this is almost like set it forget it on the fiber side compared to the cable side. So how is it? You're spending most of your time now, I guess, maintenance wise on the cable plant. Unfortunately,
we are.
Yeah,
especially in these times. One of the beauty of it is we did make a policy of no in-home service calls because we have so many people that were not here coming up, and so our community does have a quarantine a 2-week quarantine where you're not supposed to have any interaction with the outside. And so we just went ahead and implemented the policy of no in-home service calls. But what that allows us to do is all the outside work. Kind of lets us catch up on plant maintenance. And so, we're taking a lot of advantage of the PEA and the
proactive network maintenance.
red modems that are out there.
Yeah,
exactly.
cool.
Yep.
All right. So Pete's going to get more information from you here. He wants to know: are you guys using any RG or FB ports in your deployments?
We are. Yep. So this device right here uses the RG, the remote gateway device. And so when we provision this, we provision it as an RG device. And then everything, all the Ethernet ports, the Wi-Fi is all kind of combined back on one. So. And
then FB, that's another thing that we were adding in there. FB port. I don't know if Pete wants to type in what that is.
Yeah. None of the devices that we have been deploying are FB that I'm aware of.
He is asking plans to do whole home DVR on the FB ports. Is that anything that you plan on doing, or is that all that videos through cable?
One of the things we kind of had is we partnered with TiVo to do our DVR units, and so their return, their set-top return is basically all IP based instead of having to have a RF side that has a return on it. So
got it. Yeah, he said full bridge, which is probably where that. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you guys? How do you guys determine where you're going to expand into? Is it just you have a specific service area where you know that there are a good number of customers maybe that don't have good service that you think you can improve the situation for them? How do you make the decision on where you're going to go?
I think probably the easiest way to make a decision is how many homes are in this area that we can serve. But a lot of that is really just taking where we extended one node and we can kind of just bridge off of it and extend to another and kind of put it together more like a puzzle, so to speak, where you start with the center and you kind of just work your way out from there. With our deployments is pretty much how we've been doing it. So.
And then I guess when you do that, do you get a new OLT and put that out in the field somewhere?
Well, you can. One of the things is if you're far away from, like your hub site is far away from the community, you can put the OLT out in the community and then split it and go from there. But all of our service areas are relatively close. I'd say probably within 20 kilometers of where our data center is. And so we've just been housing it in there because the actual trunk fiber length is not that long.
So you just got a back office with everybody in there.
And with the Calyx gear, we can get the extended range units, which will go up to 60 kilometers on trunk fiber and then split out from there. So they do have quite a good bit of range to work with.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been interesting. What else? Anything else you want to leave us with as far as your service and plans for the future?
Pretty much we're going to continue trucking along with the fiber deployment, trying to stay ahead of the curve and trying to deliver a very solid and reliable product to our community.
That's great. So I guess with the pandemic that's going on, does that mean that have you had more people coming in because they decide if they're going to be sheltered at home they want to do it in the mountains, or
we have had a lot of calls on that. Yeah.
So people are coming in there. Do you find any challenges with that, with people coming in and out often like that?
Right now we have had a little bit of a challenge with it because a lot of homes are winterized here, and so when they do that, all their power breakers are off. They like to unplug everything, and so they'll come up and of course everybody's under that quarantine rule, and we cannot assist inside the home, so we're having to rely on telephone and trying to see through the phone, so to speak, to assist customers and making sure all their stuff is plugged in.
All right. It looks like a final question from Pete. Any AXOS plans?
Not as of today. pretty much still on the learning curve with the fiber deployment with the E7. So we haven't gotten to the AXOS platform yet. They were kind of showing it to us when we were getting into the purchasing decision with Calyx, but we never did go that route yet. So.
Okay. All right. Well, Rick, I really appreciate your time today. This has been educational for me, and I know other people that are watching it. And you guys, it sounds like you're really, really taking the bull by the horns up there and making sure that you can provide good service with fiber. And I think it sounds like it's really made a difference for you guys as far as just your cost structure, the cost to maintain the plant, maybe the quality of the service that you provide. So congratulations. Good job.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right. Well, maybe we can be out again in the future. I appreciate your time.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Yeah, all right. Stand by. I was just going to tell folks if they want to subscribe. I don't actually have the screen to bring up here, but if you want to subscribe, go ahead and just click the little button, the subscribe button under the video, and click the notifications bell, and we'll be notified. Like the video if you can. If you like the video, just click the little thumbs up. And I will be back next week. I may do something next week on Wi-Fi 6. I think there's some news coming out. So I may just do an update on that. There's some news coming out about Wi-Fi 6, maybe the 6 gigahertz band. Otherwise, I'll be here with another topic. That'll be next Tuesday. So thanks again, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete, for all your questions. I think Pete was pumping you for information on the development side.
Awesome.
Yeah, because we want to make sure that since you guys are customers, we want to make sure that we're looking to what you're doing or wanting to accomplish, so we can work that into the application. And again, new release tomorrow, so there may be some new stuff for you to look at tomorrow on some of the things that you're doing. So,
sounds good.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us. I'll be back next week for Tech Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.